Paratmanamekam jagadbijamadyam niriham nirakaram onkar vedyam yato jayate palyate yena vishvam tamisham bhaje liyate yatra vishvam. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hari Om Tat Sat. Dear devotees, Bhagavan Sri Krishna, he says that towards the last verse in the Gita of the 15th chapter, he says that I have told you, Arjuna, the most secret Shastra. Ite guhyatamam Shastram, idam uktam mayanaka. Let us again go back from the last verse of the 15th chapter. Krishna is in the last verse of the 15th chapter. He says that by me has been told the most secret Shastra. Hey Arjuna. And knowing this, anyone, knowing this doesn't mean knowing through only the intellect. The knowing refers to the experience of what is being told. So anyone who experiences this, etad buddhva buddhimansya, that person will become a really wise person. And kritakrityascha bharata, two things. Wisdom. Wisdom is a great thing in human life. Not the worldly wisdom, but the wisdom which is associated with the experience of our own true nature. That is a true wisdom. When that wisdom comes into the human life, that person, that man, that woman becomes kritakritya, fulfilled. All the sense of unfulfillment, incompleteness, dissatisfaction, everything comes to an end. That means this is something, this attainment is something which is permanent and which is truly speaking indescribable, and it is beyond all human evaluation. And this great wisdom and knowledge is being placed before us by Krishna in this 15th chapter. And this is most secret Shastra. Secret Shastra means, if you all remember, in the first class we had discussed this point. What do we mean by Shastra? That itself is a very important point to be discussed and understood. Usually we as human beings, not only human beings, all the living creatures in this world, we all see only through our sense organs. And whatever we are perceiving through our sense organs, that is what we understand by the term world. The world which we are perceiving, it is completely sensory. It is indriya jagat. Whatever we are seeing through these sense organs. Now the problem is we have taken that this is the whole of the reality. And we have never questioned about it. And as long as we blissfully, we just go on assuming that this is the real thing, we are under a great darkness. The darkness of ignorance is governing us. And we are sitting on a heap of assumptions. Our life is actually led on a huge heap of assumptions. We are just moving in a stream of assumptions, assuming one thing after the other. Even the basic identity of the human being is just an assumption. It is only when we begin to question this basic identity that something wonderful is waiting to happen in that human being's life. The Shastra refers to the trans-sensory reality. The knowledge of the transsensory reality can come only through the Shastras. And that is why it is referred to as supremely secret. Because who knows about the transsensory entity? Does the common man know anything beyond the sensory world? We have absolutely no clue about anything existing beyond the senses. No human being has ever perceived anything beyond the senses. And if we think that this is the whole of the thing, we are greatly mistaken. So there is something beyond the sensory world which is actually speaking, the solution to all the riddles which is troubling the human mind. In this sensory plane, the human mind is riddled with so many questions. Actually, the answer to these riddles are not in the sensory world. You can keep on searching answers for these riddles, and yet we never come to an end to this search. Theories after theories are being propounded as a solution to the different kind of riddles and questions which trouble the human mind. But every other theory is quashed and a new theory is propounded. This is going on for centuries together, and it will keep on going on in this way. The real solution to this riddle of human life and existence, the riddle of what is the supreme reality, what is the truth in all the experiences that we have in life, that riddle can be solved only when we begin to peep into the realm which is beyond the senses. And there the light can come only from the Shastras. So this is the first important point which we should understand. At the human plane of existence, there is a great inquiry waiting to be instituted, an inquiry which is beyond the senses. This entity called God, we so casually use this term God, 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 God. We should remember, this term God, it is not something to be experienced in and through the senses but this experience of God comes only by transcending the senses. So who can guide us in that direction? Shastras and Guru Vakya. So anyway, Bhagavan Krishna is telling us, is telling that, hey Arjuna, I have told you the most secret Shastra. And anyone who gains the experiential knowledge of this will become truly wise, and he will become fulfilled in life. Kritakrityascha Bharata. So this is the goal of human life. First we need to understand what we are going to study in this 15th chapter. So what is that supreme knowledge which is being given to us in this chapter? That is Bhagavat Tattva Jnanam, the knowledge of the true nature of the supreme reality. The knowledge of the true nature of supreme reality means the knowledge of our own true nature. That supreme reality which we are referring to as God, that is also our own true nature. We are actually that. We have never questioned about who we are in truth. We have just assumed that we are this so-called human being, limited to this body-mind complex. And based upon this assumption, I am a man, I am a woman, and this kind of a life is just being led in utter ignorance. But when we begin to inquire into what is my true nature, something wonderful is waiting to be revealed. So that Bhagavat Tattva Jnanam, the true nature of our own self, the true nature of our own self is what is referred to as God, nothing else. God and our own true nature, they are not two different things. So this is the discovery of our own true nature which Sri Krishna is presenting before all of us. Now, if we have to attain this great knowledge of our own true self, some competence is expected. Eligibility is a big factor. Even in the world we know, if you have to study a certain subject, you have to be eligible and competent to do that. A person who is not competent to study physics or mathematics, he won't succeed in that venture. He has to have some competence. Similarly, who is eligible to have this great experience? The experience which comes by transcending the senses, not by drowning oneself in the senses. There are two things. Life can either be led completely drowned in the senses, or it can be something where the striving to go beyond the senses starts. These are two directions in which the life can go. When the human life is completely moving in the direction of senses, we are drowned in the senses day in and day out, unquestioningly, blissfully, and we are thinking that we are going to be satisfied by these sensory experiences. This is the biggest delusion that the human being suffers from. Because in and through such a venture, whatever he is expecting to get out of that experience, that is never going to come to happen. It will never happen in his life. So the other opposite venture is to live a life in such a way that you begin to rise above the senses. All the best things that human beings are actually looking for comes from this venture. Our great Swami Ranganathanji Maharaj used to say, he used to tell this. A beautiful sentence which I always often remember. He used to say, all the best things of life comes from the non-physical dimension of human existence. All the best things of life, as a human being, we are all cherishing so many good things to happen in life. We want happiness, we want satisfaction, we want peace, we want fulfillment. All these priceless gems of virtues and experiences, these can come only from the non-physical and transsensory dimension of human existence. It can never come from the sensory dimension. So this is a big conclusion of our great rishis, which we have to keep in mind. We should understand what we are looking for in life. Happiness, never in the senses. Peace, never in the senses. Fulfillment, never in the senses. It is going to come only by transcending the senses or rising above the sensory plane. Religion and spirituality means it is the striving of the human being to rise above the sensory plane. That is the meaning of religion. Religion doesn't mean just all the things which we see on the surface. Essentially, religion means the striving of the human soul to rise above the senses. True religion is that. It is that striving which makes us religious. It is not the question of just visiting this temple or that temple. They are all beautiful things, wonderful things. But the inner core of all those exercises is nothing but man's striving to rise above the sensory plane. Now that, to rise above the sensory plane, you need to have a competence, eligibility. Who is fit to do that? Only a man or a woman who has developed some amount of detachment and some amount of vairagya for the sensory plane. Unless a man or a woman has developed this capacity, a little bit of detachment, a little bit of renunciation and vairagya for the sensory plane, that person, that man or woman will never succeed in rising above the senses. And unless we rise above the senses, there is no question of knowing this great entity called God. So, the first thing that we need to have is this great virtue of detachment. Presently, we are totally attached to the sensory plane. The world which we are experiencing through the senses, presently we are totally drowned into it. We unquestioningly dive into the waters of the sensory world, hoping to become happy, and we ever remain thirsty and unfulfilled. Our thirst is never quenched here. That's why first we need to understand what is the true nature of the sensory world. And Bhagavan Krishna starts this 15th chapter by a beautiful description of the sensory world which we are experiencing. So the first thing that we have to learn is the true nature of the sensory world. Is it really true as it is appearing to us? When we begin to question, something wonderful will come out of this inquiry. And that is what Krishna is doing in the beginning of this 15th chapter of the Gita, by presenting to us the true nature of this sensory world. What is this true nature of the sensory world? It is being very graphically described in 3 beautiful verses. Urdhva moolam adashakam ashvatham prahuravyayam chandansi yasya parnani yastam veda sa vedavet adhaschordhvam prasritastasya shakaha gunapravurdha vishayapravanaha adhascha moolani anusantatani karmanubandhini manushyaloki na rupamasyeha tathopalabhyate nanto na chadir na cha sampratishtha ashvathamenam suvirudha moolam asanga shastrena dridhena chetva. Beautiful 3 verses. The picture which is painting is so graphic. He is saying this samsara vriksha, this samsara, this manifested world, is being compared to a tree, a vriksha, a tree. Just like a tree has got its roots, a tree is born out of seed. The seed is there, and from that seed the plant sprouts, and the sprout begins to grow. It becomes a big trunk, and the branches branch forth, then twigs and leaves and fruits, and it keeps on branching forth. Similarly, this samsara has got it has got its roots. Where? Its roots are in the unmanifested. Its roots are in the invisible. That invisible, unmanifested state is what is referred to as Maya. Maya is a wonderful thing to be understood. This whole world is nothing but it is Maya Srishti. This manifestation, at the root of this manifestation is a very big deception called Maya. It's a wonderful thing it is. We are being fooled to believe that we are something else. It is a very inscrutable thing. Bhagavan Shankaracharya says it is anirvachaniya mahadbhutam, mahascharyam. What an amazing thing it is. It makes you feel that you are something other than the reality. Where in truth you are one with God, you are actually godly, you are God itself. And how do we feel that we are this human being, this small little puny creature trapped in a small body-mind complex? This is the deception which is created by this inscrutable power called Maya, from where this entire world proceeds. So Krishna right in the beginning says, this wonderful world which we are experiencing, it has got roots in the invisible, in the unmanifested. It is from that invisible, unmanifested seed state, this manifestation comes forth. This wonderful, visible universe comes out of that invisible seed-like state, which is inside our own hearts. So this is the picture of this world which Sri Krishna is placing before us, beginning from that seed to this entire tree which has come out of that seed. Beginning from the unmanifested to this entire manifested world. Beginning from that invisible to this visible world which we are seeing is the entire range of this world which we are experiencing, Jagat. And Krishna says, this Jagat is what? We think it is real. We have never questioned it. Right from the day we were born, we have assumed that this is absolutely real. And that sense of realism, I always say this, that unquestioned sense of realism about what we are experiencing is the trap in which we are all trapped. Whereas the truth is what? Krishna says, don't think it is absolutely real. It is Ashvatham. It is not Shashvatham, it is Ashvatham. Ashvatham means that which is continuously changing. Pratikshanam anyatha sabhavaha. Every moment it is changing. It is just a stream of change. It is just a stream of flux. Drashta nashta swarupaha Krishna. Shankaracharya says, drishta nashta. Even in the very act of perception of a particular object, that object is already getting destroyed. Even in the very act of perceiving this world, the world is already getting destroyed. What a wonderful observation it is. We can ask ourselves, what have we ever got in this world? Did we ever get anything in this world? Whatever appears to have come into your life, it's all going away. Can we hold on to anything? Can we even hold on to this body? It's everything. The very thought of the body, when we think about our own body, in that very moment, this body is getting destroyed. It is a continuously degenerating and destroying entity. Where is the thing? That is the question. Where is the thing? A thing. Is there anything called a thing which is actually existing? All that we are experiencing is a stream of change and a stream of flux. Where is the thing? If I point out a certain thing, where is the thing? Already the thing has changed. It has undergone a change. And the change is towards destruction. Look at this body itself. Where is the thing? Where is the human being? If this question is raised, and when we begin to seek answer to this, wonderful things will emerge out of it. We will begin to see things more clearly. It's a wonderful thing. Our life has to be based upon a clear understanding about what is what. And we should not be leading a life based upon darkness and ignorance. So Krishna says that this world is ashvatham. It is not shashvatham. Literally, ashvatham means that which does not last for the next moment, which is continuously changing. And he says, no one knows the beginning of this world or the end of this world. Na rupamasyeha tatha upalabhyate. We don't understand the world the way Krishna is presenting here. We have our own assumed ideas about the reality of this world. Do we understand the world in the way the Shastras is presenting it to us? Do we understand the world the way Krishna is presenting it to us? No, the common man on the street doesn't understand it that way. He has assumed so many things about it. So what is this nature of this world? So that Bhagavan Krishna so beautifully, Bhagavan Shankaracharya so beautifully says that. What is this world? It is just like a magic show of a magician. It is just like a water scene in a mirage. It is just like a dream. Water scene in a mirage, what a beautiful example it is. Can anyone ever quench his thirst drinking the water from the mirage? This is a very important, beautiful illustration given by Bhagavan Shankaracharya in different places. Marichika udakavat, he says. Marichika udakavat. Like udaka means water. The water seen in the mirage. We see water in the mirage, and if we hope to quench our thirst by drinking that water, what is going to be the fate of that person? Similar is the fate of the human being and all the creatures here. We are hoping to satisfy our different desires and thirsts by enjoying the different objects, which is never going to happen. The human being, the living creatures, in spite of whole life of sensory experiences, we still remain unsatisfied, dissatisfied, empty. Is it not? Who has ever become satisfied here? The richest, from the richest man to the poorest man. As long as our life is drowned in the senses, we are empty. We are bound to remain empty. It's an empty thing. Here there is nothing actually existing. What is actually existing is the search which Bhagavan Krishna is talking about here. So I'm taking more time to discuss this part because this is the most important part. Unless we understand the transitory nature of this world, we shall never even start this great search for the supreme reality. So this transitory nature of the world should get into our very nerves and arteries and blood itself. When we look at this world, when we deal with everybody, that transitoriness should be very clear, that vision should be very clear to all of us. Then we shall never be trapped by what we are seeing. And then this so-called virtue of detachment, will come into our lives. That detachment is the competence needed to institute this great search for the supreme reality. What a wonderful thing it is. So that competence of detachment and vairagya comes when we understand the true nature of this world in this way. And Bhagavan Krishna says, this world which we are experiencing, what are we supposed to do with this world? This world deserves to be uprooted, he says. So beautiful. Asanga shastrena dridhena chitva. This world should be uprooted. The world doesn't exist outside. The world is existing in our own minds. Let us not forget this point. The world is not existing anywhere out. This world is existing in our own minds. We have to uproot it. Uprooting means, Shankaracharya says, not just if you just cut the trunk of a tree, the tree is not going to die. It will grow from there. But if you uproot it, if you pluck it out from the root itself, then the tree is dead. Similarly, this so-called world has to be uprooted from its roots itself. If you just cut it from above, if you cut the branches and the twigs, the problem is not going to be solved. This samsara vriksha which is residing in the human mind, it has to be completely uprooted. Udhritya, Shankaracharya says. And how do we do that? Where is the weapon to cut this tree? Just like if you have to cut a very big tree, you need a very big saw, a big sharp saw or axe. If we have to cut this big tree, you need a big strong axe. So what is that weapon, instrument with which we can uproot this samsara vriksha? That is the question. So that weapon is asangata. What a beautiful thing it is. This is the greatest virtue that can come into human life. Opposite of this asangata is sanga, attachment. This attachment, actually speaking, is the mother of all the evils that we have in life. Attachment is the mother of, literally speaking, if all of us have to give thought to this point, and we will realize this point, realize the truth of the statement of the great masters. It is this attachment to something which is mysterious, attachment to something which is continuously changing. Where is it going to take us? It is only going to take us into the mouth of unending suffering and misery in human life. This is the mother of all the sufferings, attachment, clinging to something which is not actually existing and which is appearing to be existing. This world is something which is not actually existing but which appears to be really existing. This is the play of Maya. This is what is known as deception. A very strange kind of experience of something which is not actually existing but which appears to be really existing, and we are deceived, continuously deceived. Now the whole search in the human life is a search for what is actually existing. The unchanging entity, we are looking for that. That unchanging entity is what is referred to as God. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to have this competence, eligibility, to institute the search of the supreme reality. And that competence is what is detachment, vairagya. What a wonderful thing it is. The capacity to deal with everyone with utmost sincerity and concern and yet remain perfectly non-attached. It's a beautiful virtue it is. You are into everything. You're deeply concerned about everyone's welfare. Detachment doesn't mean that you become insensitive and unconcerned to others. No, that's wrong understanding of detachment. People always misunderstand this virtue of detachment as what? Okay, I don't bother about the other person. The other person is suffering and in the name of detachment, I turn away my face from that direction. No, this is not detachment at all. This is a disease actually. If this is what is detachment, it is a hopeless thing. Detachment doesn't mean that you're not going to be involved. And involvement doesn't mean that you become attached. This is the secret. This is what Krishna teaches in his Karma Yoga. Beautiful.